The crash. The alarm screaming through the Defiant Hope sounded like the death rattle of a giant. Captain Elena Reeves gripped her command chair as the ship bucked and twisted through Kethra 9's atmosphere. Metal groaned. Bulkhead sparked. The viewscreen showed nothing but fire and spinning clouds. Hull integrity at 30%, shouted her first officer, Marcus Chen, his knuckles white on the console. We're not going to make it, Captain. Elena's jaw tightened. She had heard those words before. 12 years in deep space exploration taught her that impossibility was just another problem waiting for a solution. Divert all power to forward shields. Burn the engines if you have to. That'll leave us dead in the water after landing, Marcus protested. Only if we land, Elena shot back. Do it. The ship shuddered as power rerouted. Through the chaos, Elena caught glimpses of her crew. Young Tommy Vasquez at navigation, barely 23, his face pale but focused. Dr. Sarah Okonkwo strapping herself into her station, already mentally cataloging the injuries they would face. Engineer Pavel Rostov somewhere below decks, probably cursing in Russian while holding critical systems together with spit and prayers. They were colonists. Farmers, teachers, scientists. 200 souls seeking a new home on the edges of known space. They had passed beyond the familiar borders of human territory 3 months ago, chasing survey data that promised a garden world. Nobody mentioned that Kethra 9 sat in what the galactic community called the dead zone. The Defiant Hope hit something solid. The impact threw Elena against her restraints hard enough to crack ribs. Emergency lights bathed everything in red. The ship skipped like a stone across water, each bounce accompanied by the screech of tearing metal. Then they were sliding, plowing through what sensors said was forest, until finally, mercifully, they stopped. Silence fell like a blanket. Elena tasted blood. Her ribs screamed with each breath. Around her, the bridge crew stirred, checking themselves and each other for injuries. Sound off, Elena ordered, her voice rough. One by one, they responded. Marcus had a gash across his forehead. Tommy's arm hung at an odd angle. But they were alive. Throughout the ship, damage reports flooded in. 37 dead in the initial impact. The engine room was a total loss. Life support was failing in sections C and D. The colony supplies in the lower cargo holds had been crushed. Dr. Okonkwo appeared on the bridge, her medical bag already in hand. We need to evacuate the injured sections now, Captain. I'm setting up triage in the main cargo bay. Elena nodded, then addressed her crew. All hands, this is the captain. We have crashed on Kethra 9. Our situation is critical but survivable. Section leaders, begin emergency protocols. We're going to make it through this. She said the words with conviction she did not entirely feel. Through the cracked viewscreen, she could see an alien sky. 3 moons hung overhead, their light filtering through strange purple clouds. The forest surrounding them glowed with bioluminescent plants that pulsed like heartbeats. Beautiful. Deadly. Unknown. Marcus pulled up what remained of their sensor data. Captain, you need to see this. The readings made Elena's blood run cold. Atmospheric composition was breathable, but the air carried trace elements of something the computer flagged as potentially toxic with long-term exposure. Local fauna registered as abundant and large. Very large. But worst of all was the energy signature emanating from a structure 40 kilometers northeast. That's artificial, Marcus said quietly. Someone built something here. Something big. Elena studied the readings. The structure was massive, easily the size of a small city. Power readings suggested active technology far beyond human capabilities. Kethra 9 was supposed to be uninhabited. The survey data had been clear. Empty world. Prime for colonization. Someone had lied. Or someone had not known the truth. Get me Pavel, Elena ordered. The engineer's face appeared on screen, smudged with grease and exhaustion. "Captain, the news is bad. Main drive is slag. Backup generators will give us power for maybe 2 weeks if we're careful. After that, we're living in the Stone Age. Can we send a distress signal?" Pavel's expression said everything. Communications array sheared off during entry. "I could maybe jury-rig something, but it would take weeks. And there's no guarantee anyone would hear it out here." Elena closed her eyes briefly. They were alone. Stranded on an alien world with failing systems, surrounded by unknown dangers, and apparently sharing the planet with someone or something capable of building massive technological structures. "All right," she said, opening her eyes. "We adapt. Marcus, organize salvage teams. Strip everything useful from the damaged sections. Tommy, even with that arm, I need you working with Pavel on getting long-range sensors operational. We need to know what we're dealing with. Doctor, save who you can." She stood, ignoring the protest from her ribs. "Everyone else, understand this. We are colonists. We came here to build a new home. That plan has not changed. It's just gotten harder. Humans have survived worse than this. We will survive this too." The crew responded with nods, with grim determination settling over shocked faces. They dispersed to their tasks, leaving Elena alone on the bridge with Marcus. "You really think we can make it, Captain?" he asked quietly. Elena looked out at the alien landscape, at the glowing forest and triple moons. Somewhere out there, something waited. Something that would soon learn humanity had arrived. "We're human, Marcus," she said. "We don't know how to quit. And that's going to surprise whoever or whatever is out there. Because I guarantee they've never met anyone like us before." She did not know how right she was. Or how much that simple human trait, the absolute refusal to break, would change everything. First contact. The Dominion warship emerged from slipspace 72 hours after the Defiant Hope crashed. Commander Thraxol of the enforcement caste watched Kethra 9 rotate below, his 4 eyes narrowing with professional irritation. Another violation. Another species stupid enough to ignore quarantine markers. "Life signs," he rumbled, his translator rendering his clicks and whistles into standard galactic. "Detecting approximately 163 individuals, Commander," his sensor operator reported. "Concentrated around the crash site. Biorhythms indicate distress but not mass casualties." Thraxol's neck frills flared in surprise. 163 survivors. Impossible. Ships that crashed on Kethra 9 never produced survivors. The planet's biosphere was Category 7 hostile. The atmospheric toxins alone should have rendered the crew incapacitated within hours. Species identification. The operator hesitated. "Unknown, Commander. Database shows no match. Bipedal, carbon-based, minimal natural defenses. They should be dead. Should be dead." Those words echoed in Thraxol's mind as he studied the scan results. The unknown species had established a perimeter around their crashed vessel. Primitive shelters dotted the clearing. Energy signatures suggested they had salvaged power cells and were using them for basic equipment. In 72 hours, they had created a functional base camp. "Prepare a subjugation team," Thraxol ordered. "Standard protocol. We will process the survivors and determine appropriate punishment for quarantine violation." His second-in-command, a veteran enforcer named Kresh, activated the deployment sequence. 12 soldiers in full combat armor assembled in the transport bay. They carried suppression weapons designed to incapacitate without killing. The Dominion preferred living examples when teaching lessons about law and order. The transport descended through purple clouds, landing at the edge of the clearing with enough force to shake the ground. Thraxol emerged first, his 2-meter frame encased in armor that had seen action on 40 worlds. Behind him, his soldiers formed a precise line, weapons ready. The humans stopped what they were doing. Thraxol observed them carefully. They wore simple clothing, many showing signs of injury. Yet they did not panic. They did not flee. Instead, they gathered together, watching the Dominion forces with expressions Thraxol could not quite interpret. A female human stepped forward. She moved stiffly, clearly injured, but her posture radiated authority. Behind her, Thraxol noted, other humans had quietly positioned themselves with tools that could serve as weapons. Foolish. Brave. Foolishly brave. I am Captain Elena Reeves of the Earth vessel Defiant Hope, the female said. We crash-landed here 3 days ago. Our navigation systems failed and we had no warning about restricted space. We mean no harm and request assistance in contacting our government. Thraxol activated his translator, letting it process the unknown language. Fascinating. The species had no entry in the Dominion database, which meant they came from beyond the mapped regions. True outsiders. That complicated matters. I am Commander Thraxol of the Dominion Enforcement Fleet, he responded. Kethra 9 is under permanent quarantine. Your presence here violates 17 interstellar treaties. You will surrender yourselves for processing and judgment. The human captain did not move. We didn't know about any quarantine. Our star charts showed this system as unexplored. We had no intention of breaking any laws. Ignorance is not immunity, Thraxol stated. The law applies to all species equally. You will board my transport immediately. Resistance will be met with force. Something changed in the human captain's expression. Her eyes hardened. Around her, the other humans shifted stance almost imperceptibly. Thraxol had conducted hundreds of first contacts. He knew the body language of submission. This was not it. Commander, Elena said carefully, we have wounded children. People who will die without proper medical care. If your law requires us to face judgment, fine. But help us save our people first. Show us that your dominion has mercy as well as rules. Mercy. Thraxol's frills flattened in confusion. The concept existed in Dominion law, but it required acknowledgement of authority first. This human spoke as if negotiating between equals. Unacceptable. You do not bargain, Thraxol said. You obey. Final warning. Board the transport or we will force compliance. The human captain looked back at her people. Thraxol saw something pass between them, some unspoken communication. Then Elena turned back to him, and her next words changed everything. No. The single syllable hung in the alien air. Thraxol's soldiers shifted, uncertain. In all of the commander's career, across dozens of species and hundreds of enforcement actions, he had never encountered simple refusal. Species begged. They pleaded. They attacked in desperation or cowered in fear. They did not simply say no. Explain your response, Thraxol demanded. We will not board your ship, Elena said clearly. We will not abandon our wounded. We will not surrender to judgment for a crime we didn't know existed. You want to take us? You'll have to drag every single one of us. And we will fight. Not because we think we can win. But because that's what humans do. Behind the captain, the humans had formed a loose defensive formation. Thraxol analyzed the situation with combat-trained efficiency. They had improvised weapons, metal bars, tools, pieces of wreckage. Against Dominion armor and suppression weapons, such implements were useless. The humans had to know this. Yet they stood ready. You cannot win, Thraxol stated the obvious. Probably not, Elena agreed. But you'll remember us. Every species you meet afterwards will hear the story of the humans who refused. And maybe, just maybe, that will matter. Kresh stepped closer to Thraxol, speaking privately. Commander, recommend we withdraw and call for reinforcements. Unknown species with unknown capabilities. Standard doctrine suggests caution. Thraxol considered. The humans were clearly outmatched. But something about their absolute certainty, their complete lack of fear, triggered instincts honed over years of combat. Prey that did not run often had reasons. Weak species that stood firm sometimes hid strengths. Demonstration, Thraxol decided. He gestured to one of his soldiers, who fired a suppression blast at a tree trunk. The ancient wood exploded into splinters, leaving a smoking crater. Your weapons are primitive. Your position is hopeless. Surrender now and face judgment. Resist and face annihilation. Elena did not even flinch at the display. Instead, she smiled. Actually smiled. Commander, let me tell you something about humans. We've survived ice ages, plagues, wars that should have destroyed us completely. We've climbed mountains that killed us and gone back to try again. We've split atoms and touched other worlds. Not because we're the strongest or the smartest. But because we absolutely refuse to accept that anything is impossible. She took a step forward, ignoring the weapons trained on her. You think this situation is hopeless? We've lived through worse. You think your demonstration scared us? We've faced scarier things in our own history. You want us to surrender because the logical thing to do when outmatched is give up. Her smile widened, becoming something fierce. We're human, Commander. We don't do logical when survival is at stake. We do stubborn. We do impossible. We do whatever it takes. Around her, the other humans stood straighter. Thraxol realized with growing unease that the captain's words were not bravado. She believed them. They all believed them. In the face of overwhelming force, facing certain defeat, these strange beings from beyond mapped space genuinely thought they could resist. Last chance, Thraxol said, though his certainty wavered. Surrender or face the consequences. Elena's answer was immediate. No. The standoff stretched. Thraxol's soldiers waited for orders. The humans watched with calm determination. And Commander Thraxol, veteran of countless enforcement actions, faced a situation his training had never prepared him for. He was facing a species that did not understand how to lose. The choice. Commander Thraxol stood in a clearing for what felt like an eternity, locked in a contest of wills with creatures he could easily destroy. His soldiers waited. The humans waited. The alien wind whispered through glowing trees. And slowly, against all his training and experience, Thraxol made a decision that would reshape galactic history. He lowered his weapon. Stand down, he ordered his troops. Confusion rippled through his squad, but they obeyed. Thraxol approached Captain Reeves alone, stopping 3 meters away. I have enforced Dominion law for 23 standard cycles. I have processed 47 species. None have responded as you do. Explain. Elena relaxed slightly but did not lower her guard. Explain what, exactly? Your refusal to accept reality. My forces outnumber yours. Our technology exceeds yours by centuries. Your survival on this planet beyond 3 days is medically impossible according to atmospheric analysis. Yet you stand here, defiant, as if you have already won. Explain this delusion. A sound came from the humans. Laughter. Several of them were actually laughing. Elena's expression softened into something almost sympathetic. Commander, it's not delusion. It's hope. And hope is the most powerful weapon humanity ever developed. Hope is not tactical, Thraxol argued. Hope does not deflect weapons fire or repair damaged ships. No, Elena agreed. But hope makes us try anyway. Hope made us look at those atmospheric toxins and immediately start engineering filters from ship materials. Hope made Dr. Okonkwo work 36 hours straight saving lives with equipment held together by wire and determination. Hope made engineer Rostov jury-rig solar collectors from hull plating so we'd have power when our generators failed. She gestured to the camp around them. You see primitives with improvised weapons. I see 200 people who crashed on a hostile alien world and immediately started building a future. We've purified water sources. Identified edible plants. Established patrol rotations. In 3 days, Commander. Because we hoped we could survive, so we made survival happen. Thraxol's 4 eyes studied the camp with new perspective. What he had dismissed as desperate scrambling now appeared differently. The shelters were crude but engineered for stability. The perimeter showed tactical awareness. The humans had organized themselves with military precision despite being civilians. They had transformed catastrophe into opportunity. Your species is unknown to Dominion records, Thraxol said slowly. Where do you originate? A planet called Earth, about 200 light-years beyond your borders, Elena replied. We're explorers, Commander. We left our homeworld because we wondered what was out here. We've made mistakes, clearly. But we're not conquerors or criminals. We're just curious. Curiosity is dangerous. Curiosity is how we survived, Elena countered. When our ancestors faced extinction from climate change, curiosity led us to agriculture. When disease threatened our species, curiosity gave us medicine. When we looked at the stars and wondered if we were alone, curiosity built the ships that brought us here. She met his alien gaze directly. You enforce laws, Commander. But have you ever questioned why those laws exist? Kethra, 9 is quarantined. Fine. But quarantine from what? What's so dangerous here that an entire planet must remain empty? Thraxol's frills flattened against his neck. The human had asked the forbidden question. The question no Dominion citizen dared voice. That information is classified at the highest levels. The quarantine has existed for 3,000 cycles. We enforce it. We do not question it. Why not? Elena pressed. You're intelligent. Your people built faster-than-light ships and energy weapons. Surely you've wondered about the massive structure 40 kilometers from here. Surely you've questioned orders that seem arbitrary. The Dominion maintains order throughout 7,000 star systems, Thraxol said, but his voice carried less certainty. Order requires obedience. Questions lead to chaos. Questions lead to progress, Elena said gently. Commander, I don't know your history or your culture. But I know this. Any society that forbids questions eventually stagnates. Eventually dies. Humans learned that lesson the hard way, over and over, until finally we embraced the chaos of curiosity. Behind Thraxol, his second Kresh spoke urgently. Commander, this is irregular. We should report to Fleet Command and request guidance. Thraxol turned to his subordinate. For the first time in his career, he saw his orders through alien eyes. Enforce without question. Punish without understanding. Maintain order at all costs. When had the Dominion become so rigid? When had enforcement replaced justice? Kresh, Thraxol said slowly, in your training, did they teach you why we quarantine worlds? His second hesitated. To prevent contamination. To protect Dominion interests. To maintain stability. But why is Kethra, 9 specifically quarantined? Silence. Kresh did not know. None of them knew. They enforced ancient laws without understanding their purpose. Suddenly, Thraxol felt very tired. He turned back to Elena. What do you propose, Captain? Let us stay, Elena said immediately. Give us 6 months. We'll study this planet, investigate that structure, and share everything we learn with you. If there's a real danger here, we'll help you understand it. If the quarantine is obsolete, we'll prove it. And if we fail, if we die trying, then at least your Dominion will know why. And if I refuse? Thraxol asked, though he already knew his answer. Elena's smile returned. Then you'll have to drag us to your ship. And we'll fight every step. And even when you win, you'll remember us. The species that refused. And that memory will haunt you, Commander. Because you'll wonder, for the rest of your life, what we might have discovered if you'd given us the chance. Thraxo looked at his soldiers. Battle-hardened veterans, all of them, watching their commander wrestle with an impossible decision. Then he looked at the humans. Injured, outmatched, technologically inferior. Yet standing ready to fight a battle they could not win simply because surrender was not in their nature. Something Pavel had said during a conversation between humans that Thraxol's translator had captured echoed in his mind. We don't have plot armor, we have stubborn armor. And sometimes that's enough. The commander made his choice. 6 months, Thraxol announced. I will report your presence but recommend observation rather than enforcement. I will remain here with a security detachment. If you discover anything threatening Dominion stability, I will intervene immediately. If you fail to survive, your fate is your own. But if you succeed... He paused, his frills lifting in what might have been hope. If you succeed, perhaps the galaxy learns something new. Elena extended her hand in the human gesture of agreement. Thraxol studied it, then carefully clasped her smaller appendage with his armored gauntlet. Around them, both species relaxed incrementally. You won't regret this, Commander, Elena promised. I already regret it, Thraxol admitted. But I regret more not knowing what you might achieve. Over the following weeks, something unprecedented occurred. Humans and Dominion worked together. Pavel and Dominion engineers jury-rigged a proper communications array. Dr. Okonkwo shared medical techniques that fascinated Dominion science officers. Tommy Vasquez, his arm healing, taught Dominion soldiers human games that involved strategy and cooperation rather than just combat. And Elena, working alongside Thraxol, led an expedition to the mysterious structure. What they found there would eventually bring representatives from 300 species to Kethra 9. An ancient library. A repository of knowledge from civilizations that predated the Dominion by millennia. Technologies lost for eons. Philosophies that challenged every assumption about order and chaos. The quarantine had been established not to protect the Dominion, but to hide knowledge that might inspire questions. Might inspire change. Might inspire hope. Standing in that ancient library, surrounded by holographic records of long-dead civilizations, Thraxol understood what made humans dangerous. Not their weapons. Not their technology. But their absolute refusal to accept that anything was impossible. Their insistence on asking why. Their stubborn belief that tomorrow could be better than today. Your species will change everything, Thraxol told Elena as they studied alien texts together. The Dominion has maintained order for 10,000 cycles. Humans have been here 6 months and already our enforcement doctrine is under review. Already, other species whisper about the outsiders who refuse to obey. Is that bad? Elena asked. Thraxol's frills rippled in what humans had learned was amusement. I do not know. Ask me in another 6 months. Or 6 years. Or 6 centuries. Your species thinks in very long terms when it comes to hope. That's because hope doesn't have an expiration date, Elena replied. It just keeps going until it becomes reality. She looked around the ancient library, at the gathered knowledge of vanished species, at the Dominion soldiers working alongside human civilians, at the beginning of something that might reshape galactic civilization. We didn't come here to break your laws, Commander. We came here because we wondered what was beyond our borders. And we stayed because giving up isn't who we are. Yes, Thraxol agreed quietly. I am beginning to understand. Humans do not break. And perhaps, in refusing to break yourselves, you will help the rest of us remember how to bend. Outside the ancient structure, 3 moons rose over Kethra 9. In the human camp, someone started playing music on an improvised instrument. Laughter drifted through alien air. And across the galaxy, word spread of the species that crashed on a forbidden world and somehow turned catastrophe into first contact, enforcement into cooperation, and impossible odds into just another Tuesday. Because that is what humans do. We refuse to break. And in refusing, we teach the universe that hope, stubbornness, and sheer bloody-minded determination can change everything. The galaxy would never be quite the same. And humanity would never be forgotten.